sermon at Banaras. Okay, and before I discuss the things about this chapter, let's talk about the writer of this chapter and who she was actually. And one more thing, this chapter it is in the syllabus of 10th class, and the book is First Flight. Now, when we talk about the writer of this chapter, she is Betty Renshaw. Uh, she was born in Mississippi in the United States of America. She was a college reader. The chapter that we have right now in front of us, this has been taken from her book, and the book is Values and Voices. Uh, Most of the things that she has written, it is related to spirituality, philosophy. So she was considered moreover a philosopher than a writer. Clear? So now discuss. We should discuss this chapter now. Summon at Banaras. See, see this word summon. Summon. It is considered preaching, doing lecture, teaching, whatever. Even giving instructions also. In the chapter, one example has been given, like mother when keeps on telling the children like regularly, okay, do this thing. So there also it is considered that mother stop sermonizing, father stop sermonizing. Such things are also there. But sermon, it should be taken with some high spirit. Basically, sermon is preaching some spiritual things, things that avoids sufferings, tensions, melancholy from our life. Okay, and someone is also considered that it should be given, or it is normally given from the people who have actually, uh, you know, uplifted their spirits in the true sense, such as Gautam Buddha. Okay, so Gautam Buddha, he was born in the year 563 BC and he died in the year 483 BC. The place where he was born, it was Lumbini. His father was a king, Shododhan, and the kingdom, their kingdom, it was in Kushinagar. Presently, that place it is in Nepal. So let's talk about his early life. See, Gautam Buddha, he was a prince, so he enjoyed all the princely things that normally it is expected from a prince, or it is given by a king to his prince. Okay, so he enjoyed all the luxuries in his childhood. At the age of 12 years, he was sent to Gurukul. He was sent to an ashram, you can say, to get some knowledge about scriptures, religious things, whatever, spirituality. So he came back from there after getting education. He came back from there at the age of 16 or 17. So at the age of 16 or 17, the parents, because at that time, early marriage, it was in tradition, it was in custom. So he was married. He was married, early marriage, it was there. So they had a son also. Means he had a son also. And up to 25th year of his life, or until he became 25 years old, things were going on, at ease. He did not have any type of problem. Problem in the name of problem, he had nothing. Everything he could enjoy, it was there. Luxurious life he was having, aristocracy he was enjoying. He had a covering of protection, like it was a shielded life. No problem was at all in his life. So He set out for hunting uh, at the age of 25. There, four different scenes, these created some sensation in his mind. Four different sights, these created some kind of problem in his life. These four scenes were like he saw a sick man, he saw an old man, he saw a funeral procession where a dead body was being carried away by the people to be cremated, and then he saw a monk, he saw a beggar also. He was asking for his alms. So these scenes created some kind of sensation in his mind, and he thought that he should seek answer for all these situations. He should seek answer for all these situations, like why is a person sick or he grows old, why people die, why people become monk, all these things. So he became desperate and he wanted to get this knowledge, he wanted to get this wisdom, he wanted to answer to these questions. So he left his house, he left his palace, and he went in the search of enlightenment, means true knowledge. He went in the search of true knowledge, enlightenment, and he wandered here and there for 7 years, and he did not get anything. He was hopeless. He was desperate. He was, totally devastated at heart. He was highly, you can say, pessimistic because he was not having answer. So he sat under a peepal tree and he took a vow. He made this kind of determination that uh, if he did not get anything until seventh day, then certainly he would do something to his body, to his life. So destiny has written already for him something unique. So on seventh day, he got the things that he had aspired. Okay. And on the seventh day, he became enlightened. He became Buddha. Okay. He got the real knowledge because it was the people tree under which he got the real knowledge, true wisdom. So he renamed that people tree, and it was considered Bo tree now. Bo tree means tree of wisdom. So now one thing it was there in his mind, because now he was enlightened, he was the source of spiritual knowledge. So he thought that he should impart this knowledge to the people so that he would lessen their sufferings, he would decrease their sufferings, he would decrease their pain, okay, that they normally have in their ordinary life. So he thought to provide some kind of solace by imparting true wisdom. So he decided that his first message should be given on the river, on the bank of the river Ganges, the river Ganga, and the place should be Banaras. Banaras, it is considered one of the holiest places where people take dip in the river Ganga. Okay, it is considered quite pious place, holy place. So gathering was there. People were ready to listen to this great man. So there, this sermon, this is very very unique, children, and it has been considered one of the foremost or one of the most important sermons related to the spirituality. So in the sermon, that is procured and that is here preserved for the you can say benefit of the common man. So now we discuss about this. According to this sermon, there was a lady, Kisa Gautami. and she had a son. One day, unfortunately, that son died. But Kisa Gautami, she could not believe that the son had died. She still felt that there must be some remedy to death. There must be some remedy by the effect of which the the son, means her son, could get back life. So he went away or went here and there, asking people to provide her some medicine so that the son could be alive. People scolded her and often uh, told her if she had lost her senses, because every time she was behaving in this senseless way, because after death certainly there is no life, and she was begging life, she was begging medicine people so that her son could be alive. It was not so. So she uh, went on meeting people one after the other, and one day a person suggested her that she should go to Gautam Buddha. She should go to Gautam Buddha. Certainly, that man could do something. It was told. So she was happy, and she went to Gautam Buddha, and Gautam Buddha heard her problem and told her that uh, yes, rather not told, she was asked to do a task. She was asked to do a task, and the task was that she should bring a handful of mustard seeds. She became happy. She thought that this is a very simple task and she could do easily. But there was a twist, certainly. There was a twist in that task, and Buddha added one more point in that task, that she should bring mustard seeds from a house where there had not been any death in that house. Okay, ever. So still she did not get the uh, point what Buddha was trying to make. She thought that it could be done easily. So what she did, she went in the colony here and there. She went in the colony here and there, and she asked every house if they could provide her mustard seed. So they were ready. But when she asked the second question, they told her that don't that she should not remind them about their deads, because the the living people were quite few in the house and the dead were many. Okay, means there was no house and there cannot be. This this is the ultimate truth, and people, those who are alive, they have to face this reality ultimately. But Kisa Gautami was not ready to understand, and to make her realize this truth, Gautam Buddha, you can say, deliberately sent her into the public with this condition so that she could realize that bitter truth. So she did not get mustard seed from a house where there had not been a death, because there could not be any house. So when she came back, she was quite tired. She was desperate. She was exhausted totally. So she sat down on the way and started looking towards the city. It was evening time and the lights were in full bloom, okay, shining quietly. So, but after some time, those lights, these were extinguished. So, with the flickering of light and the extinguishment of the light, or extinguishing lights or flickering light, she got some kind of message. She thought that birth and death, birth and death, these are quite common to human beings. These must uh, be faced by a human being. She realized, she thought, after having realized her senses, that earlier she was not behaving accordingly. Certainly, the people who were telling her that she had lost her senses, they were right. Because in the attachment to the son, she forgot this bitter truth. She was demanding remedy for a cause which could not be possible. And she realized this thing later. Clear? So, here the message is ripe fruit, they are in danger of falling at first. Ripe fruit means like the people who attain old age. Okay, so those who become mature. So after maturity or after attaining old age, it is certain. Sometimes destiny has written something else for us. People, they die at young age also. Okay, but uh, it is a part and parcel of life. Some die young, some die at old age. But about young, it is said those who die young, it means God loves them more. Okay, so immortals means it is quite compulsory. Those who are mortals, it may be human being, it may be any creature. Mortals must face death. They cannot avoid, even if they try. Even if they try to avoid death, they go in the underground to whatever heights, whatever depth they go, whatever height they could go, they go in the deepest part, in the ocean deep. Okay, anywhere. You cannot save yourself from death. It will come anytime, any place. Okay. So ultimate truth is mentioned in the chapter that death is the ultimate truth. Birth and death, like birth, reality, death is the ultimate truth, and those who are born, they certainly die. This is the highlight of this chapter. This is the highlight of this message. No way to avoid death. I already mentioned that you cannot avoid death in any way, even if you try. But yes, you can do one thing. You can control your sufferings. You can lessen your sufferings that normally people feel or express on the death of somebody. Like we have to behave wisely. We have to behave wisely. We should realize that death is ultimate thing and it will come to human beings. It will come to anyone. So we should be or we should realize this thing in the beginning so that we become wise in taking death in some noble way. And when we behave wisely, so at that time, what happens? When we behave wisely and we take death and birth, or we take death as a normal thing, natural thing, so what happens? We avoid sufferings that causes acute pain to people on the death of somebody. And ultimately, this thing, when we behave like wise people, or when we realize this bitter truth in a normal way, so we live a blessed life because we have no fear. So when you live life uh, uh, without the fear of death, and when you live life realizing the ultimate truth behind death, so your life it becomes less painful, and it is devoid of all the sufferings that human beings face only because of this concern that they would die one day. It has to come and it will come. So why we are to be worried? So with this approach, we should live our life, and certainly when we do so, our life will be happy and it will be a blessed life. So children, I hope you understood the contents of the, you can say, all the points. content behind this thing and the ultimate content of this chapter. Okay, so in the next video, I'll be coming up with different topic. So till then, keep watching and keep learning.